Awesome. Hey, CreateX, John Wooten here. I am super excited to share something I'm ridiculously passionate about. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit about what it's not about. Now, this technology in this company I'm about to present to you, it's not about replacing online advertisements. It's a proven business. It freaking works, you know? Now, this business, it's also not about, manipulating user data or trying to steal personal information from people or leverage, personal data. It's not about any of that. Now, this company, it's also not about forcing tons of people to get into cryptocurrencies or to start investing in crypto. It's not about any of that. But what it is about is something that I think is very powerful and could fundamentally change the way that online publishers look at the profits they generate from each and every individual reader that comes to their website. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm going to share with you today and cannot wait to get working on it with CreateX and through the CreateX community, which is super cool. So let's go over to the computer and let's make it happen. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So the way it works right now, right, is you have a publishing site. You have some sort of website. And on your website, you publish content, whatever. New York Times is one of my dream clients. I really want to book the New York Times. So I'm going to use them as an example, okay? So you have tons and tons of people, and everybody comes to read the New York Times, right? And as they come to the New York Times, right, they go to the website. What do they get? They get a bunch of ads, right? You get ads. There's this huge one always on the top, which is kind of crazy. And there's just like tons of ads on the website, right? And this is true with literally any websites that produce, general mass amounts of content. Like they monetize their sites with ads, right? And that's cool. I'm not a huge fan of ads. I don't know if you are, but they're kind of like a necessary. You have to have ads to monetize, your stuff, right? They have to pay their writers, they have to pay their crew, they have to make profit. Whatever, super cool, and everyone, there's just ads, right? And mostly it's Google ads, but whatever, not a huge deal. Now, the thing is, like, these work really well, but at the same time, there's this one word that's, like, literally erasing a lot of their profits as publishing companies. And, of course, that one word is ad block, right? I'm not going to try to bore you guys with numbers, but basically, if you look at, like, growth of adoption of ad block, surveys, polls, statistics, download rates, I mean, it's easier and easier to literally just open up the Chrome store and install ad block in, like, a second flat, right? And so rates just go up and up. And right now, it's at, like, what, 25% of all internet users are using ad block. And I don't know, if you look at, like, 3.4 billion people, that's what, like 850 million of them are on AdBlock. And what's interesting is a vast majority of those, 850 million people, 25% of internet users, a huge, like a massive majority of those individuals are desktop users. And we'll get to why that's important in just a moment. But it's really critical that those are desktop users. Those guys with computers, PCs, laptops, MacBooks, Macs, that are sitting there going through content without actually generating revenue for the publishing company, right? And so, you look at some sites like the New York Times, like the Wall Street Journal, how do they counteract this? They start to charge subscriptions, right? And so they charge their subscriptions, and then you can subscribe, pay a yearly, monthly fee, and have ads at the same time. What a privilege, right? And so you still have people that are blocking ads there, and they make money from subscriptions, and they're still making money from their ads, which is awesome. But again, they've got, this 25% of the market right here that is actually blocking their ads, and therefore not creating any revenue, because it's based usually on what? It's based on results. It's based on clicks, right? And so if they aren't seeing the ad, they're not going to click on the ad, right? And so there's this huge portion of the market that is just totally unmonetized. So maybe a normal publishing site, usually they measure the revenues in, cost per thousand people, the revenue per thousand people that come to the website, and how much they get paid per thousand people based on, a percentage of them clicking their ads, maybe 1%. I've done a lot of online advertisements, usually 1%. On display ads is really good. You might get a lot lower usually, but maybe you get like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people out of 1,000 to click your ad, right? That's usually, my goal. It works pretty well with those metrics. And so over here, you might get something like, for a general content site, $8 per 1,000 people. which is really, really, really good, right? Or it's pretty solid, right? But over here, you're getting what? You're getting $0 because they're not seeing the ads. And so the question is, how do you turn this, 850 million people into money if they're not looking at your ads? And again, this number kind of fluctuates depending on the industry, depending on the website, depending on the company. It just depends. But that's a median-ish number. And so the question is, how do you monetize that 25%? And I was thinking about this when I was sitting in physics class one day, and I was, my background is in personal finance and investing. I'm a national best-selling author in sort of the investing space, and that's sort of what I'm really, really, really passionate about. I was trading cryptocurrencies this one day on this website, and there were ads everywhere. And I was like, there's got to be a better way for me to look at this company's website and look at the information here without being just pampered by ads everywhere. That's when I realized at the time I had this machine. It was making about 40 bucks a day. It was just this big giant computer sitting in my basement mining cryptocurrencies. And I'm like, well, why can't we do that? Why can't people do that? And so I got working on this idea, and I got coders, got developers, and I was like, this needs to become a reality. So let me break down the metrics for you, and then let me show you exactly how it works so you understand sort of what the goal is, what the dream is, and what the purpose of the company, the software, and the product is. So it's all based on the Monero network, and without going too deep into it, after years of doing this stuff and really just actually being in the market, Monero is really the best major cryptocurrency to work with. At the time of recording, it's like the 12th, 13th largest cryptocurrency on the planet by market cap. They're just hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And what's great about Monero is it works very, very, very well on consumer laptops, consumer desktops, consumer computers. And it just uses the central processing unit, just the core base of the computer. If you think about it like a helicopter, right? It's just that core central motor that spins the center turbine. It's none of that tail, none of the rotaries, none of the flap. It's just that core central part that every single computer has, is that CPU. It just uses that core CPU to process transactions, and it does it very, very efficiently. And so this currency is very optimized for running on consumer computers. And when I say the currency, what I'm talking about is the blockchain, right? So this is all based on blockchain tech, and this is one of the first real applications of blockchain tech that I've personally seen in the marketplace. I know that there are some really cool blockchain companies. I've seen some of them at ATDC. Like, those guys are so awesome. But that's a little bit more like the asset management space, which is awesome. This is more like you want to use blockchain, but you don't want people to know that they're using blockchain. And so anyway, they have, all these transactions. I'm not going to go, too deep, but basically, right, if you want to add a new transaction, or if you want to validate a transaction, or just move money around in the network, right, the Monero network has tons and tons, thousands of people across the world. They call them nodes. They're just people that have computers, and these computers, they run this program on them that validates transactions, new transactions. It secures the blockchain, makes sure that everybody has the right information, all the accounts have the right balances, and basically they just say, yep, looks good, and they're constantly checking the information in this blockchain ledger to ensure that the network works and everyone has the right balances. And so in exchange for that service, in exchange for the computing power that they're using to process these transactions and to validate the network, not only do individuals pay about a 2-cent fee per transaction when they send money through Monero, and that 2 cents goes to these miners, but additionally, every single group of these transactions, every time that this blockchain is updated and validated, the Monero network itself gives out a reward and issues new Monero coins, Monero tokens. So like, $160, $60. They have value. They're just a cryptocurrency like any other kind of cryptocurrency. And you can immediately sell that for cash. And so the way the metrics work out on this, and how this kind of looks right now in the current market, is the Monero network pays about $93,000 per day to all of the miners to actually validate these transactions. And that $93,000 a day turns into about $34 million per year in annual payments to these miners who are literally doing nothing except, you know, using their computer to run this program. And I know because like I do it for myself, I do it for clients. It works really, really well. It's like pretty sweet. And that's how they actually run the cryptocurrency network, is by rewarding these individuals with new tokens, which again, new coins, whatever, cryptocurrency. It can be instantly transferred into cash as, again, one of the most liquid and largest cryptocurrencies on the planet. And so the goal with MonerAds is to leverage this technology to monetize that 25% that isn't actually creating any income for these publishing websites. So let me show you exactly how we do that. So, you know, we've got our 25% right here that are running ad block, and they come to a website and they're like here, and the goal, right, is to give them just a little bit of a pop-up, or maybe not even a pop-up, just a little sidebar or something, and it says, hey, you know, we see that you're running an ad blocker. And the thing is, most people that run an ad blocker, especially on desktop, you know, they don't want to see ads because the ads are really annoying, but they still want to support their favorite publishing sites. And so they come here and it's like, hey, you know, we see you running an ad blocker, but hey, would you like to mine Monero, non-intrusive, you know, no data, we aren't going to do anything, you don't download, it's all automatic. Would you like to mine Monero to support the website owner? And the goal, right, is to get people to say yes to that, and then it'll just load our cross-device cryptocurrency mining script from the cloud into their browser. And so it just runs in the browser sandbox, and then as it runs in the browser sandbox, what happens is they start to passively mine cryptocurrency for the website owner, and as they mine cryptocurrency for the website owner, they get to have like an ad-free experience and support that website while they're on the website. And then as soon as they close out the tab or whatever, you know, the mining stops and non-intrusive, it's gone, right? And it was just in the browser. And the way this works out on text-based websites is you have, you know, your computer here, and about a third of the computer is used to actually load the website, read the newspaper, read the article, whatever. And so what that does is it leaves about 2/3 of the computer just totally unused. And so our goal really with our miner and our the browser miner is to use another third, right? Not to push the computer to the limit, but to use about a third of that computer's power to actually mine cryptocurrency at peak efficiency and make it work the best for both parties, right? So that they get the experience they want, and they also are supporting the publishers they love, which is super cool. So what I want to do now is I want to work behind, like, break down the metrics behind how this actually functions and what revenue numbers we can expect from this, so you can see sort of the growth scale potential of this company and of this market, which again is just totally untapped, right? This 25% right here literally is making $0 for the publisher in a vast majority of situations, unless they have some kind of subscription or something. And even if they do, they aren't getting everything they can out of all they've got, which is a very powerful concept. Insane book by Jay Abraham. And it all comes out of this concept of they're leaving cash on the table, right? And so how can they get that cash back? Well, here's how they can get that cash back. After extensive work in this industry for literally years, what I found with the Monero network is, you know, you've got low-end computers, and you've got like really cheap laptops, and then you've got like super high-end computers and like desktop PCs. And so like in the middle is what I want to focus on. I want to focus on averages. And if you look at all these numbers and you work out all the math, we're looking at on average per desktop user, because remember, a vast majority, you know, upwards of 90% of these ad block, 95+%, are actually on desktop. If you look at a vast majority of desktop users and you look at the average power of their computer, their CPU, you're looking at about 11 cents per day mining Monero, if they mine Monero like all day. And so 11 cents per day for an average computer. So we take that 11 cents and we divide it by 24, and we get about 45 cents per hour, right? And then if we divide that by 60 to get the amount of money per minute, we get about, you know, 7/10 of a cent per minute, which is super cool. Now remember, we talked earlier about, you know, revenue per 1,000 users, right? That's what most normal metrics are, and it's per 1,000 people. And so if we multiply that by 1,000, we'll get, you know, per minute, right? We're gonna have about 7.64 cents per reader, per thousand readers, per minute. Now, after looking extensively at statistics and data from SimilarWeb and other general data sites on major mainstream publishers and most online companies that are publishing content, you look at CNN, they're at about 8 minutes, you look at Times, they're about 2 minutes. If you're looking at the average view time of a user on a website, it ranges, but for the top media sites, for the top publishers, you've got everything from 2, 3, 4, usually up to 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 minutes average view time, which is really, really, really good. But being conservative and looking across literally hundreds of websites, the average view time I found is about 4 minutes. So if we multiply about 764 by 4 minutes, and I'm again using the actual exact numbers here, you're getting about 30 point, say 55 cents, 30 cents per 1,000 people. 30 cents, 35 cents is about the range we usually get looking at these calculations. And again, it sort of fluctuates a little bit based on Monero, but the mining profitability is very, very stable over time. And while the price of the currency fluctuates, the actual US dollar rewards and the US dollar currency payments and the amount of money that they're actually paying out to the miners stays fairly consistent. And so this 30 CPM, 30 cents, 35 cents CPM is basically, it's a pretty solid, consistent number over the past 2, 3, 4 years with the Monero network per 1,000 people. Assuming peak efficiencies, you're looking at about 30 to 35 cents CPM revenue for a fraction of the marketplace that originally was paying, $0, right? And so what's cool is now this 0 turns into about 30, say 31 cents. And that's just like literally free money and newfound money that they just wouldn't have had, assuming high opt-in rates, high efficiencies. Obviously, there's marketplace testing to do with this. But literally, you're creating revenue, again, by mining cryptocurrencies just basically out of thin air. And it's all based on the trust of the blockchain network and the Monero network, which again has been running for years and years and years and years. And they're huge, right? And so it's just all based on using that blockchain tech to turn unused computing power into cold, hard cash, which is the goal. And so with that said, I really do appreciate your guys' time. It means a whole lot, and I'm super excited to share this with you because it's what I'm really passionate about. So I want to run through just the last section here of like where the growth is here, where the potential is, and what the goal is. So the goal, right, is to develop the software, and then once you have the mining platform, you're basically set for market, right? And again, we got about 850 million people running ad blocks, so it's a big market, and you can make 30, 55 CPM. Like that's really good. So for us, like target clients are people like New York Times, the McClatchy Company, American City Business Journals. These guys that control literally hundreds of millions of eyeballs every single day with their general newspaper publishing sites. And what's cool is that most of those companies get fairly low advertising rates anyway, just because of the general nature of their content. And so if we can like actually just increase their profits, what it does is it's really powerful because they're making more money, they can pay their publishers, they can pay their writers more, and it's just better for everybody involved. And again, the user gets an ad-free experience and they love it, right? Which is super cool. And so, if they can, it really just depends on the eyeballs they're getting. But again, like 30, 35 cent CPM, if you have hundreds of millions of visitors, you're looking at an extra 6 or 7 figures of potential profit for these companies, for the actual publishers involved, which again are our ideal clients. And really the way that we want to serve them is by helping them monetize that segment that would otherwise have just been worth nothing to them. And so for you guys, I know it's like you want to look at the actual company and look at the potential revenue for MonerAds. So the goal with it is to market and sell it as about a 90-10 rev split. And so what's cool is like if we can get it on a lot of the major websites, or if we just get it on one major website, all of a sudden that one major website turns into more and more clients because we're selling it directly to the website owner to put on their site. And then, we get 10 websites, 10 major publishers using this, and then we get 10% from each of them. It's like we have our own publishing company, which is like huge, right? And so, if you've got like maybe 850 million people, say, conservatively, we can get half of the mainstream media, the mainstream publishers. Again, using the 80-20 principle, half is pretty conservative if we can scale well. But that's what, conservatively like 400 million people every single day. And so if you take 400, million, and then you divide that by 1,000, you multiply it by, say, 31 cents, you're looking at about 12.4 million in daily revenue for clients. In cents, and so because that's in cents, we'll just kind of divide that by 100. That 12.4 million cents turns into a real 124,000 per day. And so annually, if we do like 124,000 times 365, we should be able to generate for these companies and for these individuals around about 45 million based on these numbers. Now these numbers aren't perfect, given that the actual network only pays about 34 million a year. I think 45 is pretty aggressive, but say this would give us 45, but I think a little more conservatively. And really the goal for the company, is this math leads to about 45, but again, it really needs to be implemented, it really needs to be tested, it really needs to be put in the market. And so if we could maybe do, my goal with it is to do about 17.8 million per year for our publishers. And then that 17.8 million in newfound revenue for those publishers should yield us about 1.78 million in net revenue per year. And again, what's cool about that is this idea that like once we have the product, once we have the software, it's really just scale and grow. And the only thing that would cut from that top line, besides development costs, the only other operational expenses I could possibly think of at the moment are transaction fees and converting the currencies very, very quickly from Monero over to US dollars to actually pay the publishers. But those are very minimal, maybe 1% tops. And that's really the growth and the scale potential here, is to have sort of more of a passive business entity that would create 6 or 7 figures recurring and about 8 or 9 figures for our clients, to help them generate significantly more from the users that would otherwise be worth nothing to them because they're using ad block. And so this actually lets them turn those users into more money without forcing the users to really do anything extra. All they have to do is click yes, and they're done. They're set. And so that's the goal with this platform. That's the goal with the company. That's the goal with the scale plan. Those are some of our dream clients. Obviously, we have to start, grow, and get some of those first clients. That's really the goal, is to have those first clients, have that baseline data, and actually have a working product in the marketplace. Because as soon as we have that, it's really just scale and grow. And there's really no there's no downside for the publisher companies to adopt our technology, because again, it's only running for those users that are already running an ad block anyway. And it's really a win-win for everybody. The users get to use their ad block, the company gets to make money, we get to take 10%. The blockchain network grows, Monero becomes more secure, and it's just a great, solid little circle where everything comes back together full circle, all for the primary purpose of supporting online publishers, supporting their writers, supporting their designers, their staff, and allowing them to function at the highest level possible without having to worry as much about monetizing their users or worrying about the users that are currently using ad block and having to have like ad block blockers and all this messy stuff. Is to actually turn those individuals into newfound revenue in ways that traditionally wouldn't be used. So super powerful concept here. I really am super excited to be part of the CreateX community. You guys are freaking awesome. I'm totally loving computer engineering tech, and I cannot wait to really come and have a great time with you guys. If you guys are interested in this, I'd love to work with you. Super fun stuff. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to participate in Startup Launch. It means a whole lot, and it's actually one of the biggest reasons I came to this school, which is it's really because of this idea that you guys are like #1 in the world for a compy, which is awesome. But the big thing is entrepreneurship, which is super cool. I run a ton of other companies, but this is really what I want to focus on growing in the next year. The years after that is really I want to grow this company, this idea, and this principle, and obviously create a team, create employees, all the stuff needed to actually make this happen, because I know that this can have a huge impact on not only like you know, the CEOs of these publishing companies, but kind of more significantly, like the people that are sitting there every single day writing articles for these companies that are just, you know, currently, you know, I just want to give them a little bit of a boost. You know, if I give them like a 10% raise in their paycheck, that would just make me feel so happy, so excited, because I know that I can increase the amount of impact that they have just by allowing them to make more money with their content. So super powerful stuff here, guys. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. It means a whole lot. Thanks for your time, and have an amazing, amazing, amazing day. Bye.